Where does my freedom come from? Although she was very depressed, she still smiled forcefully, nodded, and said, "Come, let us respect freedom." After another glass of wine, Warnya became drunker. She looked at Charlie and said with a sigh, "Many times I would wish if rather be born in an ordinary family. In that case, my life might be a little more difficult, but there would be absolutely not so many constraints. What my family can bring to me, apart from such a high position and the inexhaustible wealth of my life, has not given me any real happiness." Charlie smiled. Said, "Many ordinary people are actually more envious of you, rich people who never have to worry about money. Isn't there a saying that they would rather cry in a BMW than laugh on a bicycle? In your eyes, an ordinary family is very rare, but in the eyes of ordinary people, this kind of ordinariness is precisely what they most want to get rid of. Everyone has sharpened their heads, isn't it just to make money?" Warnya looked at Charlie and said seriously, "Mr. Charlie, you are not trying to make money. You don't seem to care about the amount of money at all. Just like just now, a pill of 10 million, you can make as much as you like. 10 million? But you don't want to ask for it? Don't you want to give it away? Isn't this just looking at money like dirt?" Charlie smiled indifferently, thinking to himself, "I regard money as dung because I am not short of money. You didn't know me when I was short of money." At the time, Aunt Lena was seriously ill. In order to make up for her medical expenses, I begged Mrs. Wilson to borrow money at her birthday banquet. I thought that if she believed in Buddhism, she would have the kind of Buddhist thought of saving one's life than building a seventh-level Buddha, and maybe she would lend me some money. But she didn't expect that she believed in Buddhism on the surface, but inside was actually an extremely greedy, shameless person. At that time, if someone wanted to give me $1 million, I was even willing to kneel down for him. People cannot resist the attraction of money when they have no money. Those who can really do it treat money like dung. People who already have money to spend, it is worthless. For example, now, 10 to 20 million is considered a bullsh*t. I don't know how to spend the tens of billions in my account, and the Emgrand Group has tens of billions of profits a year, and I don't know how to spend it. In this case, what is the point of asking for 20 million? I would rather not have this money, and let them pay homage to them, calling themselves one by one Mr. Wade and one by one great benefactor. This is really cool. But, these words, how can I tell Warnya? She now thinks he is a saint with money like dung and the ability to reach the sky. In that case, let her continue to think so. At this time, Warnya drank a little and said, "Actually, I can tolerate everything else, but in the matter of marriage, I really don't want to be manipulated by them. I don't want to be their pawn. I don't want to marry a man I don't love at all, and I don't want to give my youth and happiness to the Song family. I don't want to repeat the mistakes of my mother." Charlie asked curiously, "Your mother, was it also an arranged marriage?" "Yes." Warnya nodded and said, "My mother married my dad. She was never happy in her life. She was depressed for many years and passed away at a young age." Charlie remembered that Warnya lost her mother's relic left to her last time. According to Orville, her mother has been away for more than 10 years. Warnya is also 25 or so. It is estimated that her mother had already left when she was 10 years old. In that case, her mother was really young when she left. Warnya drank a sip of wine alone, played with the wineglass in her hand, and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, Mr. Charlie, for letting you listen to my so much nonsense." Charlie hurriedly said, "Miss Song, don't say that you can choose to tell me this, it must be your trust in me." Warnya nodded lightly, wiped away the tears from the corners of her eyes, and said, "By the way, thank you very much Mr. Charlie today. Not only did you save my grandfather, but you also heard me complain about so much nonsense. Thank you." Charlie smiled slightly and said, "You don't need to be so polite, no matter how you can be regarded as friends, when friends are too polite, and they seem to be divided." "Yeah." Warnya nodded and said, "It's getting late, Mr. Charlie, or I will drop you back." Charlie waved his hand. "You don't need to send me off, but you can't drive in this situation. It's best to find a substitute." Warnya nodded and said, "Don't worry, the female manager here can help me drive. I'll take you back first." That night, after Warnya sent Charlie home, she returned to the Song family villa. The Song family father did not follow Charlie's instructions to take a rest but was sitting in the hall, listening to Warnya's father and her uncles to report the family situation. Seeing her back, Mr. Song hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Warnya, I have been waiting for you." "Grandpa!" Warnya screamed respectfully, and asked, "I wonder what Grandpa would like to give me." Mr. Song said, "You invited Mr. Wade here. What is the situation of Mr. Wade? Please tell me about it. I want a detailed account." "Yes, Grandpa." Warnya hurriedly said, "Mr. Wade and I met by chance in Jiqingtang, when Mr. Wade was with his father-in-law." "Father-in-law?" Old son Song frowned. "Mr. Wade is already married?" "Yes." Warnya nodded quickly. It's a pity, it's a pity." Mr. Song shook his head and sighed, "It's really a pity."